Suzanna, welcome, and thank you so much for giving me your time to be
You're
here
welcome.
today. I just want you to explain to everyone out there a little bit about you, your background, where you grew up, where you went to school, and what you do now.
I used to call myself a kind of shy extrovert, and what I meant by that was that at home I will be there giving it large, larger than life. But when it came to meeting other people or talking about myself or just being confident in itself, I was quite shy. So I was quite shy. So I was quite a shy extrovert, as they would say at home, queen of the house, but outside quite shy. Okay. I grew up, my parents are from a biggie and a smallie island, as they would say. So my father's from Jamaica. My mum's Trinidadian, no longer with us. She passed away from breast cancer, so just during my early teens. Then, what else was there? So at school, I was a sporty girl, always a sporty girl. So it was either sports or dance. I absolutely loved the two. Okay. And then my dance teacher was really good in being a nice little career advisor and said, why don't you go down the dance path? But my dad also was in the performing arts business, and he was like, no, child. You can't be doing that. It's such a tough life, blah, blah, etc., etc. And so as much as I had a passion for performing arts, I took the route of finance because I was also good at finance, my maths. So I started going down the financial route, even thinking about taking my AAT or my accounting examinations. But when I found myself kind of like 3 o'clock in the afternoon dancing on top of the table at work, I thought, this is not the life for me. So then I, during that time, I always danced along the way, was in dance little groups, youth groups and stuff. And one of my friends had an audition for a school in Northern School of Contemporary Dance up north. Okay. And she wanted some company, so I thought, you know what, let's go. So I took a day off work, went up to the train. We had to prepare an audition. I didn't know anything about that. I just blagged it along the way. Hadn't been to I'd been to about 3 ballet classes in my life prior to that. But other than that, I thought I'd just go for a laugh. She didn't make round 1, and I was offered a scholarship at the end of it. So then, this was at jolly age of, so I decided not to tell my parents, hand in my job, and then take the scholarship.
So how old were you then? You'd finished school, I take it?
So I finished school. So I just finished my A-levels.
Finished A-levels.
So just finished my A-levels, done all that, and then when the van was arriving at my house on the day, I decided to tell my parents. Didn't go down too well.
Okay.
But, and I suppose with me, with the school, as I went to the school, I always said that I never really wanted to be a performer as much as I enjoyed that. I always had an aspiration to run my own business. Okay. So I literally did my training, went and represented Great Britain dancing out there, had the privilege of going to Japan and dancing. Also, my first job was at the Royal Opera House, dancing away there. A couple of operas there, which I absolutely loved and adored. Then I moved out to Japan for a year and lived there, dancing away. Then came back, and the options were still audition or work in a pub and see how you go, wait for the moment. And I thought, no, I want to own my own business. So I saw an ad for to become a principal for a franchise, which I've been with ever since. So had no money at the time, only a dream and aspirations.
Wow.
So I went through a 4-hour process, interview process, going through different stages. And I was very fortunate to be offered a position, because at that time, they were just such a family unit, or everybody that was a principal was related to somebody within the business. So I was one of the first people outside of that. Okay. And they said, so we need 20-odd thousand, I think it was, or 35,000 at the time. And I went, that's great. I'll come back in a couple of years when I've got some money. So I went off and raised some money, and this is my business ever since. Started off with
Wow.
5 students, and just now we're around just under the 100 mark.
So how long have you been running your own business?
Very long time. We won't talk about that. Very long time.
Okay. So it sounds like in the beginning you knew what you wanted to do. You knew that you enjoyed sports, you loved dancing, but you're also good at finance. So you gave it a go, and then the opportunity presented itself. So how would you advise other people in terms of, finding out what they're good at and pursuing that?
For me, I always got some good advice in the sense of sometimes life is a bit like a puzzle. So do what you love, drive your day by what you love, and then it all kind of like. So as I said, I love finance. I love the bookkeeping side of things. I also love the arts. Lo and behold, I find myself in the marriage of the two. So I would never have probably found myself here because I love both. So it's just exploring, and as I said, be driven by your passion and be really, really, you have to be committed to it. Whether you're in the performing arts or anything else, passion and commitment drives everything. Because when the days get tough, and regardless of what you do, there will be days where you get tough, building that resilience is usually driven, I find, by that love and that passion to overcome everything.
Yeah, that's great. So did you think, if you had to name 3 traits to be successful in whatever you do, or what works for you, what would that be?
Passion, a love, a commitment, a desire to succeed, resilience.
Yeah.
So that is, no matter what comes your way, you'll get over it, under it, move it somehow.
Yeah.
In order to never be defeated.
And how did you find it? You said, who was your support network, or your go-to, or someone encouraging you on the way? So when you started the scholarship, which was fantastic.
Who was my go-to? I think at the end of the day, I was always driven by the stories I've heard about my grandmother. My grandmother was, bless her, so she married a street urchin. She came from a very, very wealthy family, but she fell in love with this street urchin. And she was cast out by her family, but yet still she made things work. So she ended up having 8 kids, running a shop, one of the largest shops on the island, running a shop, teaching, at 55 deciding to give that all up, the life in Trinidad, and make a new life in New York. So she was always driven. Nothing fazed her. No matter what came her way, she was always driven by that. Also, my aunt, the oldest one, who kind of looked after me after my mum passed, she decided that she didn't want to look after the 7 of her siblings. That wasn't her life. I know that's very much a Caribbean lifestyle. So she decided that, and she always wanted to dance, but she went down the medical route. So she begged for her fare from one of her next door neighbours who didn't have any children to come to her. So for me, it's living and hearing family stories of aspirational women that have done, regardless of what they had. They made their dreams come true.
How would you advise someone that really hasn't got that support network? They haven't got someone that's there that they can actually relate to directly to them. I mean, there's quite a few people now in the media that you can say, oh, look, they've made it. It's more prominent now for women, especially women of colour as well, in the media, making it and being successful. How would you encourage someone? What would you say? How would you go about doing it?
Greatest advice that I've come across. Well, there's so many, but one of the greatest advice for me, which I'm still learning today, is learn how to love yourself. Loving yourself, believe in yourself, and have hope. Those are the things. If you can drive that, because I always think about how somebody must have felt, when they any kind of invention, they're the only person that saw that. So if you think about even the light bulb, how that was created, imagine if you were that person, how you must have had so much self-belief in order to convey to the rest of the world that this was something that was going to benefit everything. So yes, self-belief, learn how to love yourself, learn how to believe in yourself, and see your vision and turn it into a reality.
Did you find that you had any struggles being a woman of colour?
So it's really interesting. I've always, with my family, it wasn't until I went to the West Indies that I even understood that there was shadeism. Didn't even know what that meant.
Yeah.
And so I've been fortunate enough not to really live underneath that umbrella. However, I've always been told that if you see yourself as a negative individual, then you kind of invite that.
Yeah.
So I never ever thought, because I was the only black person into this network, first black person into this network. Did that faze me? No. Did that faze me? No. No, I never saw them as hurdles.
Yeah.
Whether I was a woman, because in our family, if you're male or female, we're still fighting for the same thing.
Yeah.
It was never, that's just another thing to think about.
Yeah.
It's just something I need to get through.
Yeah. And actually, that's a way of life, or an attitude to have, isn't it? Not to actually limit yourself because someone hasn't done it before, or something like that. If it's something that you really want to do, to just go for it.
To go for it, definitely.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
And it was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you for inviting me.